So here are a couple of quotes from Barry Switzer. When he was asked about the SEC in Oklahoma, I'm concerned. I know what it will look like. It will look like we're playing Texas every bleeping week, talking about the intensity and the team you're about to play. You've got to be good. Don't know if we're good enough right now. We'll have to get better on defense. Okay, that goes without saying. Now, on the other side of the ball, he was discussing the recruiting, developing of athletes, etc. It's going to be hard to do to compete with Oklahoma, Alabama, and Georgia and who they have. I'm concerned. I want someone to raise their hand in a couple of years and say, I'm the one who took us to the SEC. I don't know who made the decision, how it was made, or who was involved. I think it's one of the major reasons Lincoln left. He wasn't involved, so we got the blank out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with him on certain points. I don't think it's the grand slam if you take out the financial piece that everybody on that side of the fence may think that it is. I've seen a lot of arrogance in some cases, and that's just to be expected when you're a program of that stature, that there's just like kind of an arrogance that comes with 7 national championships and more than a handful of Heisman and being a top 5 program, top 3, whoever you want to, debate on that, but top 5 certainly all time. There's going to be some element of that, but there's also, some things called reality checks. And I don't think that any Oklahoma fans going into the SEC and completely blind to the challenge that is. Like, I'm sure you've got your yahoos that, are just ill-informed or whatever, just maybe not the smartest, sharpest knives in the drawer, that just think Oklahoma is going to be Oklahoma and all of that. But, I mean, I think anybody with a functioning brain will, sit back and go, like, I don't know. This could go a couple of different ways here. And I don't think we really know for sure just really which way to expect it for Oklahoma, because, yes, there is the mindset of, well, it's Oklahoma, and they'll always recruit well, and they'll always have money in football, and now they're just getting more money, and sure, the schedule ramps up, but it's Oklahoma. I mean, they're going to survive. They'll be fine. And then I think there's others like Barry Switzer who are like, look, we're a great white, but now we're jumping in with like 6 other great whites, and a couple of them are actually bigger than us at this point, in Georgia and Alabama. So, yeah, I think it all just depends on perspective, and it depends, too, on what you think the future is going to be. Like, is this ultimately going to be super beneficial in your mind because of the financial bump, because of the competitive nature of it, that now you have to raise your game to where you are going to be that team that can go to the playoff but also win a playoff game because now you're just better suited to do it? Like, does those benefits stand out more than any of the negatives that come from that? Or do you find yourself, like Barry Switzer might be alluding to, of where those days of competing for a championship are a lot fewer and farther between, and those days of just winning conference titles ho-hum are like years and years apart rather than just one after the other after the other? I mean, I understand why they got tired of where they were, and I understand, why financially they had to probably make that move to remain of the stature that they are. Although OU and Texas being the brands they are, I think they could have stuck around the Big 12 and been just fine, and the league would have survived, and not much would have changed except for maybe they just fell farther back, money-wise. But, yeah, I mean, it all depends on your perspective, and it depends on who you ask, because for every Barry Switzer, I'm sure you can find somebody who's full-blown confident that, they're not going to go win national titles right away, but they're going to be Oklahoma, and they're still going to have a place near the top versus the bottom. And me, I'm somewhere in between. I think, and maybe I'm more like Barry, because I don't think he's like worried. I don't know that he's like
the word he used was concerned.
Yeah, I'm concerned. That's where I am. I am concerned, but I'm open-minded enough to know that, yes, it is still Oklahoma. And with them going out there and still winning 10 games, surprise the hell out of me? No, not really, because it's Oklahoma. But I don't have a great feeling that they're going to do that all that often or very early on.
Are the fans there prepared to be good in the SEC eventually?
Right, yeah.
That's what I think that Barry's also saying is eventually it'll probably work out. But in the short term, can you deal with it? And even if they get a ton better on their way out the door in the Big 12, that doesn't mean, because we don't know what their schedule is going to be the first year in the SEC. And the SEC markets itself very, very, very well. And so I would not be shocked to see that Texas and Oklahoma's schedule in particular be a little bit tougher that first year, just because they want to make sure everybody knows that they're in the SEC, right? I mean, they know it, but like they want those things out on the front door. So
you think the SEC will maybe add an extra tough game or two for each one when they walk in the door?
I don't know. I'm not talking necessarily like they're not trying to like stick them. I think that they're going to, in the marketing sense, that, you know, there might be one more game on the schedule that would be like, holy cow, than normal, because they want to start that rotation out well.
There might be a few of those anyway.
Yeah, but like they might have that because, again, you want to make sure that it's spicy year one.
I think you'll find a little bit of a clue when they announce, what is it going to be, 3 teams that they play all the time? And we still don't know the exact science of that. But if, for example, Texas's 3 teams are not Oklahoma, A&M, and perhaps Arkansas, or Oklahoma, A&M, and LSU, if it doesn't include A&M, then that's already okay, wait a minute, what's going on there? And if it's not Oklahoma, Texas, and...
Well, that's just not going to happen. There's no way that it's not Oklahoma, Texas, and A&M.
That's what I'm saying.
There's no way.
That's what I said. It would be a clue that
no
something is weird. Here's also what he said. And if you're an Oklahoma fan and you're all excited about leaving because of the new challenges, the new destinations, the SEC, and, of course, a bag load of cash, he said, people say, and he's talking about fans, say they didn't like the way that Riley left. How did you want him to leave? You want him to call the team together and say, hey, I'm quitting. This is my last game. Now let's go out there and play hard. You don't do that. He also said, why is Oklahoma going to the SEC? Money. Why did Lincoln Riley leave? Money. Now, I know there was initially he's bolting away from, he wanted to run from competition. I saw some of that from those who just don't like Lincoln Riley. But that's Switzer, and I don't always agree with him, but he's got some truth serum going in there with this Tulsa World story.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like there is a number of Oklahoma fans that are still holding on to the anti-Lincoln Riley stuff, which I'm, far beyond that, and I never really was all that petty about it to begin with, just because I got it. I understood the move, and it's college football, so I don't know why everybody's suddenly acting like people are just gentlemanly about everything. Like, what sport have you been following that you're surprised? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe Lincoln Riley. Like, be real. Like, grow up and be real about it. It's college football. That stuff happens, and it's not shocking. I mean, it was shocking just simply because you don't see an Oklahoma head coach bolt to USC. That's why it was shocking, and it was shocking too because it wasn't reported widely before it happened. It was like, boom, it just happened, and that's why it was shocking. Normally, hey, there's feelers out, or so-and-so might be interested, or what have you, and we didn't get any of that. All of a sudden, Lincoln Riley's in L.A., and he's accepting the job, and it was like, boom, done, and that's what was shocking. But I think we had this conversation the other day. You run away or just give him and his program the best opportunity to be super successful. I think he's just giving him and his program the best, or giving himself and the program he leads the best opportunity to be successful. Because, yeah, you can brag about how tough the schedule is, but would you rather have the tough schedule that gets 4 losses on it, or the schedule that's not as tough but that you go undefeated and you get in the playoff? I know what I'd rather have. Spare me all of your schedule banter about how tough it was, but guess what? I ran through it, and now I'm in the playoff. And you've got 5 losses because you're in the SEC. And that's where I think he was coming from in some ways. And knowing, too, that they don't have a geographical footprint that is their recruiting base at Oklahoma. You have a giant swath of land out in California where he is, and up and down the coast. And you can still go all across the rest of the country.
And are the marquee program in that giant
It's the number 2 market in America. Yeah. Like, it's Southern California. The list goes on and on and on and on. And on the other side of it, and I'm an Oklahoma fan, but it's history. It's history, and it's being compared to Bud and Bob and Barry, and where's our national title? Where's our national title? Where's our national title? Big 12 titles, those are boring. We want Heisman, boring. Give us, I don't blame the guy for feeling like there's maybe some better more relaxing, more opportunistic options out there for him. And so, yeah, I think that people need to move on. And you know what? We'll see. If Oklahoma goes to the SEC and Brent Venables goes and dominates that, or has massive success, then, hey, let it rain down on Riley and his Trojans that aren't quite up to task. But, I mean, let's see how these next few years play out. Because if he's sitting there playing for national titles and Oklahoma is going 7-5 every year, are those same people that are talking to us going to be talking the same amount?
Who's more likely, I agree with everything you're saying, who's more likely to have success early the way that the Big Ten and the SEC are set up now? USC. Or Oklahoma?
USC.
Yep.
Look, I don't even know what their schedule is going to be the first couple of years, but I can tell you this, that, ultimately, as a gauntlet of a conference goes, not knocking the Big Ten, but it's not near as scary.
Well, wait a minute. Clint Moses, speaking of gauntlet. Oh, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Ole Miss, South Carolina,
Well, that's
Arkansas,
another
Missouri.
conversation.
That is, but there are.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that some of those teams weren't up or down this year, but there is a little bit of that too.
I know where you're coming from with that, and I agree with where you're coming from on that. But I think that's a separate conversation. And without knowing the schedule, like, we can throw out the four bottom of the, like, let's go Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and like throw out the lower ranked teams. But we might see that schedule next year, and it's like at Georgia week 5, and hosting Bama week 8, and then on the Texas there in October, and so we need to see it. But it's not week in and week out to the extent that it's played up. You are absolutely fair in that observation.
All right, but I love Barry Switzer. I love the quotes. We've had him on. Kim Coulter was saying Switzer always started every presser by asking what was the over and under, what was Hell's Dams and Craps. We have to share this story with. Did Wingo share the story during the interview about